Hi, my name's Casey Bishop with Roland. We're here at Kraft Music to talk about the Roland AIRA series, which is composed of the VT3, the TR8, the TB3, and the System 1. All these products can work together over MIDI or over sync from USB. So if you're synchronizing, let's say, the drum machine to Tractor or Ableton Live, it can work in conjunction, or it can work as a standalone piece. So for example, the VT3 is a great add-on piece for a vocalist, a DJ, a drummer that wants to have some voice transformation. And so as you can see in the performance, there's no menus. You don't see me going through menus, trying to set things up. It's all hands-on. These really are designed to be electronic instruments, and you play them as such. So it's very hands-on, very easy to use, and very easy to program. Even for somebody that maybe isn't very versed in programming an electronic beat or a hip-hop or a break beat, this is very easy to just use the step sequencer, the classic step sequencer that Roland has pioneered, and just kind of dig right in and make music. So all the products have USB. Not only does the USB function as synchronized to a workstation or a computer, but it also can work as an audio interface for your DAW. And so for example, using the USB on the TR8, it actually has 11 different parts. So for example, the VT3, you'll just get a stereo output, TB3 as well, but TR8 multi-channel output over USB. So with Roland AIRA, we wanted to create a couple of new technology pieces. One would be the plug-out function. So on the System 1, Roland will be releasing classic models of our analog synthesizers. And the System 1 is a great synth by itself, but using this new VST plug-out function, you'll be able to use the System 1 also as a controller for, let's say, an SH-101. When you use it as a controller, the lights that aren't applicable to the standard synthesizer that it models will go dark, so you'll know that those functions aren't available. But the cool thing about plug out is then you can take that SH-101, you can press a button, and the System 1 then becomes that synthesizer. So you then have a System 1 and an SH-101, you can take it out on the gig, no computer needed. The other piece of technology that's really exciting is a new type of effect from us called scatter. And scatter is a way of time slicing, manipulating, juggling the beat. For example, on the voice, it actually takes your audio and will scatter and kind of echo to different timings. And this normally is done in the studio. So artists or producers will take their track, they'll put rolls and stutters and edits. This allows you to do this in real time, and that's the scatter function. It's available on all 4 products, even the System 1. The cool thing about the System 1 is scatter actually scatters the arpeggiator. So as you're playing notes, it will kind of jumble them around, but still keeping everything in sync. Let's take a look at the individual pieces. I'll kind of go through some of the features of each one. The TR8 is designed to be a 808 and a 909. The layout is very similar to one-to-one, but we added a couple of really cool features. For example, sliders for each part, reverb, delay. There's an external input, so I could take, for example, a TB3 or a synthesizer and run it into the device and mix it all there or practice on my headphones. There's also a scatter effect. So just like you heard with the VT3, the voice transformer, I could take a beat and I can select which type of scatter and the depth of the scatter. So there's various scatter types. Makes for some really cool kind of builds and rolls in your performance. So very easy to play and a really cool new exciting effect for us. In terms of the parts, there's 11 instruments here. You can mix and match an 808 kick, for example, with a 909 snare. We can select my instrument type here, for example. So that's an 808. We also have a modified 808 with a longer decay. So you hear the long decay. It's very smooth controls. There's no digital artifacting or stepping because of that ACB technology. It's very real time, and basically as you move a knob, you'll hear the sound react. You can also play it like a drum machine, or you can go into step sequencer mode, and as the sequencer is running here, I can simply select where I want my snare to hit, where I want my bass drum to kick. So kind of very easy to use and also fun to play. This is the TB3. This is not only a model of our original 303s, but we've also been able to, using the ACB technology, we've been able to model other 303s. So for example, some guys will take the old 303s and they'll modify it to get more distortion or kind of a gritty sound. Those are all inside the TB3, and then there's also bass tones, lead tones, and a couple kind of sci-fi noise tones as well. Let's take a listen to a couple of the variations. So for example, it's kind of a standard 303. We have cutoff, resonance, so these are my synthesizer parameters. I have an effect. The effect isn't just delay or reverb, it's per patch. So on some of these, the effect will actually control the synthesis parameters. And then I have an envelope mod, which also is your decay. So while this pattern is running, I can also select other patterns through that same sound. I can link patterns, so they'll switch back and forth, and I can use the scatter function to kind of jumble around the notes in real time as I'm playing. Let's take a listen to a couple of the other 303 sounds. Here's kind of a distortion. Get kind of a nice gritty. You also have shuffle too. Kind of get a funkier tone. Besides the 303 sounds, there's also bass tones. There you heard the effect, the kind of delay. But a lot of variation just with that one patch by adjusting the synthesis parameters. Take a listen to a couple of the lead tones. These are cool. I like these. You can also play it like a keyboard. Or if you MIDI'd into, for example, your full keyboard, this could be used as a sound module, for example. And then there's also kind of an XY parameter that you can play. And that will affect the pattern while it's playing too.
Talk with me. This is the future that we know. Walk with me. Talk with me. This is the future that we know.
This is the VT3. The VT3 is a voice transformer. You have various effects here. You have a direct kind of a pitch shift.
Pitch shift, reverb, 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 reverb. And you can affect your voice. You also have a vocoder sound.
With a wet-dry mix.
Vocoder sound, vocoder sound, vocoder sound.
There's some synth and lead sounds which actually take your voice and transform them into a synthesizer. So for example, you could do a bass sound. There's also a megaphone and a radio effect. The cool thing about these is they have anti-feedback technology. So if you're in a punk band or a rock band, you could use the megaphone or radio effect without it feeding back into the monitors, which is really cool. And then last but not least, there's that same scatter function, but through audio. So instead of scattering, for example, my notes on the System 1, I can scatter my voice.
Scatter. Yes.
So you can get some pretty cool and out there effects with the scatter function on the VT3. So this is the System 1. It's a great synthesizer. It has a scatter function as well, an arpeggiator. You can save your presets here and switch between them. We've also included digital effects like delay, reverb, a bit crusher, so you can kind of get that distorted tone that you heard here on the TB3 with one of the 303 tones. And then besides the System 1, you also have that plug-out function. So initially, the System 1 will ship with an SH101. You'll be able to load the SH101, play it through your VST on your computer, and then send that instrument into the System 1. So it's then kind of two synthesizers in one. So even though I was doing an electronic music performance here, that's what I personally produce and like to listen to, the TR8 can do all different styles, different timing functions, so you can do a hip hop, a rock beat, just about anything that you can program here. The VT3, as you heard with all the different sounds, kind of runs the gamut from the synthesizer vocoder sound to kind of the distortion hardcore microphone effects. And the TB3, even without the 303 tones, it's a great sound module with a lot of variation and flexibility. So I think overall these are great pieces to add to a band, to a performance piece, use in your studio. Really easy and fun to play. Once again, I'm Casey Bishop with Roland. We're here at Kraft Music, and thanks for watching.